City, the fans have gathered for the excitement of AMA Camel Supercross, the Pontiac Silverdome, the scene of the action.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Supercross on ESPN. I'm Dave DeSpain with Larry Myers, and it's a unique weekend in the series, a double-header race in the Pontiac Silverdome. A Saturday night race that we're going to show you tonight, and a Sunday afternoon race, Larry, that'll be on next week, and is the source of my first question. Does 2 races in 24 hours put a lot of pressure on these guys?
Well, I think it puts pressure on not only the riders, but the mechanics. First, anytime you race, you're going to come up with little nagging pains, little aches and pains. Nothing major, but it carries over, and they like to relax the second day. They're going to have to come back out and race, so it's a problem for the riders. And the mechanics, well, they like to take the time with the motorcycles. You know, they go through them. Every nut and bolt comes off. They're not going to have that kind of time here in Pontiac. They're going to have to wash them and give them a quick check over and go racing. They don't like that a bit, so there's pressure.
Last year, this was a tremendous turning point in the series. A crash that we'll show you in a moment cost Jeff Stanton the chance to win the title. He is the home state favorite. He's from Michigan. I wonder, A, if you think Stanton's going to be able to rebound, and I also wonder if this doubleheader format favors anybody in particular.
Well, I'd have to give you a couple of answers, and they're going to contradict. Now, that might sound funny, but first, Stanton is considered to be the strongest rider in the world, so I'd have to say that coming back on day 2, it's going to be his race and his racetrack. He's got to be favored there. Secondly, you know, riders tend to do well on racetracks where they have done well in the past. So if we look at it from that viewpoint, we're looking at Bradshaw and BAYLE. These 2 riders have split the wins here for the past 2 years. So you tell me who's going to be favored.
I think we should get another opinion. Let's bring in Bob Hurricane Hanna, the all-time most successful rider in this stadium. He won 9 races here, including 6 in a row. Let's get his opinion on the Pontiac Silverdome.
I used to love Pontiac, and after I'd won a couple races here, my confidence soared. Tonight, BAYLE and Bradshaw will both be feeling that confidence. The question is, will Jeff Stanton be affected by last year's crash? Coming into last year's doubleheader, Stanton was just 10 points behind BAYLE. He crashed in his heat race in the first night of racing, and that turned out to be the end of his championship chase. Stanton was sidelined for 3 events with a shoulder injury. This weekend, he definitely will be thinking of last year. Can't help that. The question is, can he put it out of his mind? I think he can. Furthermore, the championship's up for grabs. Despite what Bradshaw and BAYLE have done here in the Silverdome the past couple years, I think it's anyone's ball game.
Well, Hanna says anybody can win it. They're all going to confront the same racetrack tonight. Let's take a look at it.
2 things stand out. Upper right-hand corner, note how the track goes up into the grandstand, and a very tricky first turn. Bob Hanna is there.
We're looking at a 4-tier step-up jump here. First one being 3 feet, the last one being about 15 feet in height. Ordinarily, it wouldn't create a problem. They'd have it in a long straightaway or a short chute. Tonight, here in the Silverdome, they've put it on the first corner right after the start. Now, it's going to create a problem for the riders past 5th place. The top 5 riders will go through, probably be able to put a little time on the rest of the pack. From 10th on back, it's going to be a little exciting and a little dangerous for the riders.
An exciting racetrack, the flamboyant Damon Bradshaw, ready to go out and tackle that track. A huge crowd on hand tonight in the Silverdome, ready for the action when we come back to Pontiac. We're back in Pontiac where Jeff Stanton hopes to finally win his home state race. He's from Sherwood, Michigan, out in the western part of the state. He has never won in the Pontiac Silverdome. The crowd is here to cheer him on tonight. The man who wants more than anything else to beat Stanton tonight is Damon Bradshaw. He crashed at Indianapolis, injured his wrist, slowed him up a little bit in the last race at Tampa. Now they come here, everybody fresh and ready for the start. Qualifying heat race into turn number 1, and Stanton is in trouble right off the bat. Number 2, Stanton has crashed. Number 10, Larry Ward, also involved. Another Silverdome disaster for Stanton, who gets it out of the bales and headed back up the racetrack. Here comes Ward back into the action. Larry, take another look.
Well, Bob Hanna called it when he talked about this section of the racetrack. They were slowed up just slightly as they hit that series of step-up jumps, and there just was not enough room for the riders behind them, Dave, and They plowed into each other and went off the racetrack.
And with that, let's take a look at the highlights of the rest of heat number 1. Mike Jones comes out of this thing with the lead. The kid from Export, Pennsylvania. Mark Musselman second. And Michael Craig running third. If nothing else, that jump sure put some unfamiliar names up front. Damon Bradshaw, the man on the move.
Well, Damon Bradshaw playing catch-up. We have seen this throughout the season. Not, you know, the best in heat racing, but once he gets underway, a heat race starts, I should say, Dave, because he has certainly won his share of them. But he's always been slow all season long. He's been slow getting started, and he's doing it again tonight. He loves to come from behind. Does a great job. And my prediction is, of course, I've seen the results, that he's going to win this thing.
A couple of guys who also deserve a call. Number 17, Jeremy McGrath. Number 30, Larry Brooks. They had moved up into top 3 positions before the Bradshaw onslaught began. Brooks on the No Leans Yamaha is in the sights of Damon Bradshaw. This is the section up in the grandstand. Unique. We'll take another look at it later on. McGrath riding the 250 here this evening. He comes out of the 125 class on the West Coast. Bradshaw taking his time to make his move here.
You know, this track is really tricky, and I think Bradshaw wants to be sure, Dave, that he's going to make it into that main event, and that's where he's going to drop the hammer, take all the chances he needs to take. But right now, Bradshaw wants to make it to main, so he's giving all of the riders in front of him a wide berth as he moves through the pack.
Through the qualifying, of course, the top 4 will transfer out of the heat races. There is the inside move by Bradshaw, biding his time. Brooks went wide. Damon saw the opportunity, slid underneath and took the spot, and figured as long as I got all this momentum, I'll get up here and hassle Mike Jones a little bit. Jumps past Jones and into second place. And here's the section of the track where they actually turn left, head up a ramp, build up onto the seats of the stadium, and then a right-hand turn and right back down the other side. Bradshaw with an interval to make up now, as McGrath had built up a pretty decent lead. Damon on the move. You see the gap there, perhaps 4 or 5 bike legs.
And that is shrinking rapidly. Bradshaw has had an opportunity coming from behind to really find all of the best lines on the racetrack and to do a little experimenting, because you know, the guys in front of him may be taking the better lines, so Bradshaw had to look elsewhere. So he knows the track inside out. McGrath, however, has been picking the lines that he found in practice to be the best for him.
Bradshaw certainly appears to be healthy. Remember the last time we saw him at Tampa, he was 4th in the main event, and you speculated, Larry, as we watch him move up and try to make the pass on McGrath, you speculated that his wrist was still hurting from the Indianapolis crash, and I think there's no doubt that that was the case. Does he look healthy to you tonight?
He looks extremely healthy, and I'm watching him, Dave, in this heat race find the new lines. I touched on that a second ago, but watching, you see, he is not following McGrath. He is all over the racetrack, and each time he does that in an attempt to pass, he's able to tuck something away in his head. This will work, this won't work, this is faster. He's getting an education out there right now.
McGrath is very impressive. This kid is a West Coast 125 defending champion in the regional series, the so-called support class. Bradshaw gets by him, but put that in the record book too, that Jeremy McGrath is the one man in this heat race who was able to run with Damon Bradshaw. He is going to be a 250 star in the future. Bradshaw taking the lead, taking the win, and styling to the fans in the Silverdome. I think he's healthy and happy. McGrath certainly pleased with a second-place finish, as will his team be. Guy Cooper comes in 3rd. Mike Jones held on for 4th. That's the final transfer. Let's go to Bob Hanna.
Damon Bradshaw from the back of the pack to the front. How's it feel to be back in the winner's circle again?
It feels good. I felt real comfortable. I was just kind of riding to, you know, check out the track and feel real good. I'd kind of like to have that kind of ride in the main.
Well, good luck. It looks like you got him covered, Damon.
Yeah, I feel real good and feel good and strong and ready to win.
Well, he's won here before. We go to the highlights of heat race number 2. And in this one, we will see Damon's teammate, the star-crossed Doug Dubach, who has had 2 outcomes this year. He either gets to the first turn first, or he gets to the first turn on his head. And we'll see which it's going to be here in the second of the heats. Actually, this time proves to be pretty good. The number 8 is they bump and bang a little bit coming into that climb, that uphill area that Hannah talked about at the top of the show. But up at the front of the pack, number 12 was able to get away, and he's got the defending series champion on his heels. A Dubach and BAYLE battle that proved to be pretty interesting.
Well, it did indeed. Doug Dubach held on to the number 1 position for 9 of the 10 laps of the 10-lap heat races. Last lap, look what happens. BAYLE, the master, He sorted things out, found the place where he wanted to pass. Went to school. Same thing Bradshaw did at his heat race. They learned by following Dave, and he made the right move, and he's going to go on and take the win as he exits that tricky uphill and downhill section.
The critical thing, of course, is to transfer out of the heat, not necessarily to win it. There is some extra prize money for winning fast heats, but it seems that Bradshaw collects all of that. So for Bayle, the thing that he is focusing on is definitely the main event. He wants to beat Damon when the points are on the line. Dubach takes the second spot. Mike LaRocco, who got off to such a hot start with a victory at Orlando, number 7 on the Kawasaki, is your third-place man, trying to mount a last-lap charge here. He couldn't catch him, and as Bayle waves to the crowd, that alone an unusual moment. We put the second of the qualifiers in the book, and again, we don't see JMB.
I think there's a large contingent from France here tonight. He was just waving at them.
So the transfer positions to the main event belong to Jean-Michel, Bayle, Doug Dubach, Mike LaRocco, and Jeff Matasevich. Here's the winner.
I was trying to find some new line, and I find a good one in the hook, so I make my move at the last lap. I was sure that when I was more fast than everybody in the hook, so I was just trying to find a good line.
Is it a hard track to pass on?
Yeah, it's very hard to pass here. You know, it's 1-9 track, and it's why I was waiting and trying to find many way to pass.
Well, good luck in the main. It looks like you're riding good.
Thank you.
When we come back, semi-final action and a visit with some of the privateers, the guys who man the trenches in the big league world of Supercross. Back at Pontiac, and Jeff Stanton prepares to try it again. He of the first turn, first lap disaster in his heat race now goes to the semifinal, and traveling with him is number 10 Larry Ward, who was a victim of the same misfortune in that same episode. They will now have to finish top 5 or better. That should not be a problem, but what they want to go out and win this thing to get a good position on the game.
Yeah, let me just point out it should not have been a problem in their heat race either, Jay, but it didn't work out that way.
So they launch and head down into turn number 1. We'll take a look at the highlights here. The first of 2 semis stands at exactly the same spot. Got that mid-pack start, but he and Ward emerge from the traffic. This time Ward gets the lead, and they have added in a 2-man battle. Ward keeps him covered for a good while. Here is Brooks running third, but not for long. He makes a little bobble here in just a moment, and you'll see number 8 Jeff Emming take advantage of that, seize the moment, and take over the third spot. Remember, top 5 will transfer. But the interesting story in this one is definitely the battle for the lead. It went all the way to the wire with the long, tall Suzuki rider Larry Ward being pursued by the hometown favorite Jeff Stanton. Fans really like him.
Yeah, you know, I think because he's the hometown favorite, it made this this run for the checkered flag that much more interesting and that much more difficult. You can see Ward doesn't want to be passed. You never want to be passed. But in a semifinal event, you know, Stanton maybe should have settled for that number 2 position, but he wanted by because of the hometown situation. He worked awfully hard, and it worked out for him in the end. Dave, he's going to hold on to that number 2 spot, but there's some dangerous moves out there.
Tough track on which to pass, but you know the old saying, all's fair in love in the last lap. You do anything you can to keep the 2-time national champion behind you, and that's exactly what Ward was able to do. So he wins it. Stanton settles for second. Emmett claims that third spot. Good for the transfer to the championship main event. The other 2 spots go to Keith Johnson and Larry Brooks, and we go trackside to hear from Larry Ward.
Larry Ward outrunning Jeff Stanton in that semi. Does that give you some confidence for the main?
Oh, yeah. Jeff and I tangled in the first turn of the heat race, and I wanted to beat him. He's beat me a couple times in Seattle. I want to beat him here.
You looking forward to the main?
Yeah, I am. This track's pretty good. I hope I can get a good start. It's a little bit hard to pass, but if I get a good start, I think I can do it.
You look good out there.
Thank you. Like I said, my Suzuki's running good. The track's good.
So it's factory riders who dominate the first semi, but in the second semi, we'll see the privateers. Bob Hanna takes a look at the life of the independent racer.
Thanks, Dave. First, let me tell you, I've been on both ends of the spectrum. And life of the factory riders and life of the privateers have big differences. How big? Well, let's try night and day, filet mignon and McDonald's, maybe even Motley Crue and Beethoven. Factory riders travel in style. They fly to the race. When it's all over, they fly home again. Privateers usually do not have that luxury. They spend long hours in trucks thrashing the highways to get from race to race. At the race, factory riders concern themselves with riding the motorcycle. If it needs work, there's plenty of help on hand to do that work, while the rider relaxes. The privateer, on the other hand, is often his own mechanic. There's no time for relaxation here. The motorcycle comes first. And speaking of the motorcycle, how about the parts needed to keep it together?
Yeah, parts are always a problem. I think the factory riders definitely have an advantage. That, you know, their bikes are always new. They always have unlimited supply of parts. I think, you know, we ride our bikes during the week, the same bike, and practice on it and tear it down and try and do what we can. But if it's tweaked or if something's bent and we don't have the part, then we have to just work with what we have and try and get it to as close as possible, and we go out and ride it, and that's what we got to do.
Todd DeHoop knows the difference. Early in his career, he had a factory ride, but is now on the circuit as a privateer.
I think the factory riders have it a little bit more made because they get to go home during the week, practice a lot, whereas a privateer rider has to travel all week long on, you know, long road trips, and they don't get to practice but maybe one day or maybe 2 days if they can, you know, ride one day during the week and then press day on the weekend. So that right there helps them out a lot, and also the bikes are quite a bit better. Other than that, there's small things here and there. They have a little bit more confidence. They get salaries and a lot of different things.
In the early days of motocross, riders were picked for factory teams based on performances against other factory riders and the rest of the pros. Factory contracts today, however, are usually determined in the midst of a rider's amateur career. That's where the weeding out process begins.
Nowadays, the factories make a much closer look at the top amateurs coming out of the grassroots programs and put them right into the 125 Supercross program that we have here in the stadiums, because basically the 125 class is getting almost the same recognition as the 250 class. So all the factories are looking at the top amateurs coming out of that ranking to put them right into 125 Supercross racing.
There are, of course, exceptions. Guy Cooper is a prime example.
Factories didn't pick me up on the amateur scene. I was already a privateer riding the Nationals, and I had been 5 years traveling the circuit, and I guess I had good enough finishes. The factory liked it, and they picked me up. The biggest advantage was that I got to fly home. After the races, I fly home. I've got a practice bike and my own practice track to ride on, and the weekend I fly into the races. The bike's prepped, the mechanic's there, everything's ready to go. And that's the biggest advantage, is being able to train and not having to drive that 1,500 miles to the race or however far it was.
There is no question, the life of a privateer is tough, and it takes a lot of dedication and just plain guts to hang in there, hoping for that pot of gold, a factory contract, that for most will never show up.
When I first started racing, I wanted a factory ride. But now that I have my surf detergent ride, it's, you know, been worth all the hardship that I've been through and all the trouble and traveling, and it's well worth it. I have a lot of fun racing, and I plan on doing it for many more years.
Once in a while, when the circumstances are just right, a privateer will sneak across that finish line in first place. And that's what makes it all worthwhile.
All right, thank you, Bob. We'll see a couple of those guys right here in semifinal number 2. In fact, number 25, Todd DeHoop, is in a drag race to the first turn alongside Ronnie Tichenour. Tichenour gets there first, but look here. The only factory rider in the race, number 3, Mike Kudrowski, crashes, obviously aware that we were featuring the privateers here.
Now watch Kudrowski. He's set to take that corner, but right behind him comes a rider that tried to sneak on the inside. There was not enough room for 2. He kind of wiped out Kudrowski's rear wheel. Kudrowski went boom.
Tichenour is your leader and comfortably out front here in a race that no longer has the big factory star back there. Kudrowski will be forced to ride the last chance qualifier, and it's a long way to the main event when you go through the heat race, the semi, and then the last chance.
Todd DeHoop running into number 2 position. Interesting to note after that feature that Bob Hanna just presented to us, the 2 guys out front, DeHoop and Tichenour, both riding for Tough Racing Suzuki. Both at one time had Suzuki factory contracts.
Number 76 is Jeff Glass, who we also saw in the feature running for the Surf Detergent team. So he is a privateer with his own outside sponsor. Number 11 is Denny Stevenson. He is on a support plan from the Suzuki factory. He has been injured and is just getting back into action and makes a good move here as he picks up the spot. For the record, the last time a privateer won a Supercross race, 1987, Rick Ryan at Daytona in an unbelievable rainstorm. So we've got a privateer semifinal here, and that's really nice to see it fall that way and give these guys a chance to shine.
It really is. They were in the limelight just a couple of years ago as factory riders, and now they're trying to work their way back. And every win like Tichenor right now is very important to them.
So Tichenor wins it with the hoop holding off the charging Denny Stevenson in the race for second and third. And I have given short shrift to one guy. Mike Fisher is, in fact, a factory KTM rider. He finishes fifth behind Jeff Glass.
Tichenor, you look good in that second semi. Does it feel all right?
Yeah, it feels really good, you know. First race, I was kind of lazy the whole race, but that race I was a lot more aggressive, and I felt really good.
Is it hard to pass out there?
Yeah, it's pretty hard to pass. You know, there's good lines, blue whoops, and that's about the only place to pass. And if you get out of the good line, it's tough.
Good luck in the main, Ron.
Thanks a lot, Bob.
Quick highlight from the last chance qualifier won by Mike Kudrowski. Finally, he makes it to the championship main event. Had to go the long way to get there. Kyle Lewis goes with him, and Bob Hanna has a visit with the mustachioed Mike Kudrowski.
Mike, you're making it look, you're making the hard way tonight. What happened out there?
I've been getting off the gate real good, but I get in the first turn and I end up running into somebody, or somebody ran into me in both the heat race and the semi, and this time I just went out and hole shotted the last chance, because that's the last chance I have to get in the main, and I can't afford to lose those points, so I went out there and did it and won.
Well, get a rest over here. You don't have much time, and good luck in the main. Thank you.
And speaking of main events, we'll have the feature for the 125 riders when we come back. The 250 class, this man, Brian Swink, is certainly the fan favorite in 125. Take a look at the championship standings as we go to the main event, and you'll see why. He has a huge point lead in the series, 41 points. In fact, can clinch the championship here this weekend, and if he does it, he'll be doing it in front of the hometown fans. He is from Fenton, Michigan, just up the road from the Pontiac Silverdome. So there's a lot riding on this one tonight for number one, Brian Swink.
The question in my mind is, which Brian Swink are we going to see? The one that's trying to clinch the championship. You know, as of a couple of weeks ago, he was looking for points, and all of a sudden he said, I'm tired of this, and went for the checkered flag. What are we going to see tonight, Dave?
Well, I think it's anybody's guess, but I would expect him to charge, if only because of the hometown influence here. Ready for the drop of the gate for the 125 main. There's the launch, and down to turn one they come, and here is number one up the inside, and he certainly did not get the hole shot. If he's going to win tonight, he's not going to win from in front. Trouble in the back of the pack. Steve Herman has trouble negotiating that series of jumps that Bob Hanna described at the top of the show. Grayson Goodman seizes the opportunity and puts his number 250 out front as he takes the lead in the 125 class. Grayson has shown flashes of brilliance this year, has run up front, has yet to win one of these races.
Another rider that has been good all season long, Mike Brown. He's been right on the edge of this greatness thing. You know, he's pursuing Goodman in the number 2 position, rides for the Pro Circuit team, and look who's coming in third place. Snuck into that inside corner. He did not get the hole shot, but he was in no danger of being pushed out. That's where he wanted to be. Came out in third, of course, Brian Swink.
Brown is the man on the move as he tries to set something up on Goodman, looks to the inside, and through that whoop-de-doo section, takes the lead, diving into the inside under the bridge. And Mike Brown of Gray, Tennessee, the Pro Circuit Honda rider, comes out with the top spot.
The Pro Circuit team, of course, is the arm, the 125cc arm of Team Honda, not a privateer effort. They don't call themselves full-blown factory, but I don't know how much closer you can get. Brian Swink, on the other hand, with the full-blown factory ride, takes the measure of Goodman moving into the number 2 position, Dave.
Swink went to the outside, took the long way around, but the rail was faster, and that seems to be the line that Swink has used pretty effectively throughout the evening here. He likes to take the thing up top and keep the momentum up, and look how quickly they pull away from Grayson Goodman. The signal about to be given, set him up.
I think that the question is answered. That's the mechanic for Brian Swink. And I think the question is answered. Which Brian Swink are we going to see? He's aggressive in the early going, and his mechanic is telling him, hey, set him up and let's get the job done.
Let's take a look at the battle for 4th and 5th. Number 575, Jeff DeMint, 16-year-old kid from Texas, a star of the future, under a lot of heat right now from the only man to beat Swink this year. Number 39 is Jimmy Button, the long, tall rider from upstate New York who has in fact, beaten Swink twice, but he's back in 5th spot and struggling here.
And he makes the pass, finds a good line through that little whoop-de-doo section to take over the number 4 position. And Button riding for the DGY Yamaha team. That's the arm of Yamaha. Brian Swink now on the move.
Swink with the 2nd spot firmly in hand, trying to set something up on Mike Brown here. We'll be back with more of the action right after this. Pontiac Silverdome, where Mike Brown from Gray, Tennessee, is the race leader over the hometown favorite, number 1 Brian Swink. And here is Grayson Goodman now under pressure from number 39 Jimmy Button. This is 3rd and 4th. Button is 3rd and definitely charging.
Grayson Goodman has put himself into that outside line repeatedly, and I don't really understand why, but Jimmy Button was able to go to school, and he just took the good line through the corner. That's where the groove was, and he just said, I'm under you, I'm gone.
A lot of times it feels faster to be in one place on the racetrack, but the clock doesn't reveal that, and the thing that'll bring that to your attention very quickly is when some guy blows by you on the other line. Brown and Swink with a pretty good battle. Look here, position 2, loose, be confident. That's what it takes to win in this business. A lot of guys will talk about riding tight. Swink commented on that early in the season.
Whoa, did you see that move? Oh, what a move Swink put on Mike Brown. He just went into that corner really deep and squared it off. It's like when you put your foot down, lean a little bit, give it a lot of gas, and the rear end of the motorcycle just whipped around, and he was able to dive under Brown. What a move that he made to take over the number 1 position.
He certainly showed a lot of confidence there as Swink zings into the lead. Hometown fans liking that a lot as the kid from Fenton closes in on his 6th victory in 8 starts. 4th and 5th place now, a battle between Goodman and number 19, Doug Henry. First time we've seen Doug today. He is the teammate of Jimmy Button, and he's trying for a top 5 spot here. He's had a real up and down season, and the downs have been hard indeed. He had a massive crash in Indianapolis, and that has slowed him up a little bit. He seems to be recovering his form here tonight and closes in on Goodman.
Earlier in the season, indeed, Doug Henry was the rider that provided the competition for Swink, and he's the only guy that was on the racetrack. He makes the pass on Goodman. He's riding extremely well, but now he's being overshadowed by his teammate, Jimmy Button.
The 2 Texans behind him having their own fight, Goodman and DeMent racing for the final spot in the top 5 as Henry opens up the separation pretty quickly on Goodman. But for their bad starts, both Henry and Button might have been able to get up there and challenge Brian Swink, but Swink had the advantage of getting to the front quickly, and on a track like this, it's very, very difficult to make up a lot of time.
Boy, it is extremely difficult. The track is a little on the tight side. You got to look at it this way, Dave. Say what is fair for one is fair for all. It is tough, though, if you do not get a hole shot out here tonight. The dirt was a little soft, I think, when they brought it in, and maybe traction is a problem. Who knows? From where we're sitting, everything looks okay, but riders are having difficulty passing.
Here's Goodman. The difficulty for him has been being passed. Remember, he actually led the race, but has now slipped back to 5th. The Suzuki rider from the Dallas suburb of Plano is trying to stop that backward slide and hold on to that top 5 finish. Up front, Swink just cruising around in control, loving the moment as the hometown fans cheer him on. A lot of folks wondering if Brian Swink is the next Damon Bradshaw. Having dominated the 125 class, will he be able to do the same in the 250 division? We'll have the opportunity to find out next year as he graduates and tries to become the first Suzuki mounted champion in the 250 class since Mark Barnett back in 1981. Suzuki does well in 125. They've had some problems playing in the 250 crown, but Swink looks like a man who's got that potential.
Well, of course, this weekend, the potential is, will he win the championship? And it looks like he's on his way. Here's the interval clock, Dave, as we look at the riders running back. That was Mike Brown in 2nd. Coming up is the 3rd place rider, and you can see he's well back in the rest of the pack, Jimmy Button. And here comes 4th place now, Doug Henry, his teammate on that DGY team, and Grayson Goodman in 5th, 17.8 seconds back.
Taking a look at the top 5, we'll be back to see if Swink can hang on and win it after this time out. Is doing exactly what he came to do, running away with the victory here in the first of 2 races at his hometown track, the Pontiac Silverdome. Mike Brown solidly in second spot, contending with lap traffic here, but well on his way to the runner-up position behind Swink, a distant runner-up behind Swink, as Brian is out there on the cruise control. Nobody to challenge him this evening, and that sets up the possibility that he will be able to clinch this 125 Eastern Regional Championship tomorrow afternoon here on his hometown track.
If he takes the win here tonight, assuming all positions remain the same, he's almost only going to have to show up tomorrow, Dave. If he puts his helmet on, he's going to be declared the champ. He heads into that uphill section for the final time here in the first half of this doubleheader, and almost colliding there with a lapped rider. I think that would give you some nervous moments if you're a Team Suzuki manager.
He's busy watching the crowd, I think, and not the rest of the competition. He started the celebration early for sure. And Swink heads for the checkered flag. May have been looking back to see where second place was.
He keeps looking back. Look at that. That's why he wanted to be sure he had enough room to do that. But this is what he was watching, I guess, the battle behind him.
And that race for third got close at the finish as number 19 Doug Henry charged to within a couple of bike lengths of his teammate Button. Nobody anywhere near Brian Swink tonight. I'd love to tell you this was a dramatic race. It was in fact a walkover. Swink, Brown, Button, Henry, and Goodman are the top five. Sixth spot goes to Jeff DeMent, followed by Ezra Luss, Tim Ferry, Chad Pedersen, and Barry Karsten. Let's go to Bob Hanna.
Well, from the sound of the crowd, you're definitely the Michigan hometown favorite. How was it out there?
Great. You know, I got a decent start. I passed and got in the lead, and the crowd was going cheering loud. So, you know, that helped me keep going. I just rode smart and kept enough distance between me and Mike Brown that I could win.
That's 2 weeks in a row. You look great.
Thanks a lot.
Let's update the points. With that gap, Brian Swink can clinch the championship with a 17th place finish here in round 2 of this Pontiac doubleheader. I'll bet all these fans will be back tomorrow to see if he can do it. We'll be back with the 250cc main event right after this timeout. Back in Pontiac, Michigan, Damon Bradshaw on the parade lap preceding the main event has not won since Atlanta. At that point, he had won 5 in a row. He's been beaten the last 4 times out, twice by this man, JEAN-MICHEL BAYLE, the defending series champion who has taken over the series lead. In fact, let's review the points as the Frenchman sits 3 ahead of his teammate Jeff Stanton. Bradshaw now trailing by 11. Needs to make a move here tonight, trying to regain the form with which he dominated the early season. The injury at Indianapolis was a critical turning point for Bradshaw. So now they come here to Jeff Stanton's home state and home stadium, where he has never won a supercross race. The main event is at the gate, just about ready to turn them loose. What do you think, Bradshaw or Stanton?
Oh, I'm not going to fall into that trap. But I want to quickly point out that Bradshaw needs the win here badly, Dave, and I think he needs it for 2 reasons. One, the point standings, obviously, championship coming to a close. Second, mentally, I think he needs the win to prepare his mind for the rest of the season.
Here we go. Drop of the gate. We're underway. Privateer Larry Brooks has a hole shot. Ooh, trouble contact. Stanton just barely gets through. Big pile up. Here's number 1, JEAN-MICHEL BAYLE involved. There were about a half-dozen factory team riders all stacked up in that. Brooks is the leader. Let's go back and take a Mike Kudrowski, hard luck guy tonight. He's been all the way through the last chance qualifier. Let's go back and take another look.
No way could we tell what triggered that incident. There are so many bodies stacked up there. They look like an accordion going in and out, all factory riders. JEAN-MICHEL BAYLE, the championship points leader, way at the back of the pack now. And Jeff Stanton, as a result of the altercation almost being involved, is well back, I'd say, about mid-pack at this point.
The Privateer leads it. Larry Brooks with Mike Jones in second spot. Number 4, Damon Bradshaw, gets a tremendous break here as the Honda factory team riders are hung up in the first turn. Bradshaw trying to make a move on Jones as Brooks builds the early lead. He's got to feel the heat right now as he knows that all the big guns are back there. Bradshaw did not make the pass, and I got a feeling he's going to try to get by these guys in a big hurry.
I think he will too, but if he was able to determine, and this track goes back and forth. There's Stanton, and he's back now in the number 8 or 9 position. Oh boy, he has got such a ways to go if he's going to be a factor in this one. That I think all he's doing now is fighting for maximum points that he can get out of this. But the track, as I started to say, goes back and forth. So Bradshaw was able to look over his shoulder and look beside him as the rider's going the other direction, Dave, and he knows there is no one there to challenge him.
Here's Jones being challenged and indeed passed by Bradshaw. You saw him look over his shoulder. He saw Bradshaw coming, and I think he saw the writing on the wall as well, although he does try to retaliate there. But Bradshaw is looking forward. Bradshaw wants to get around Brooks in a hurry, open up the big lead, and not give anybody the opportunity to catch back up with him here early on. So this is the race for the lead, and the Honda team riders who stand 1-2 in the points, Jeff Stanton and Jean-Michel BAYLE, are far behind. Will this be the straightaway? No, Bradshaw couldn't get it set up on the outside there, and is still stuck in second. Give Brooks a lot of credit. He's having a good night.
He's having the best night that he has had all season long. How long is he going to stay up there? That obviously is the question. If Bradshaw has anything to do with it, not for long. But Larry Brooks is doing a masterful job.
Every corner you have the feeling that Bradshaw's got the move all set up, and every corner Brooks is able to either close the door or just come out with a little more speed, as he does right there, and leads yet another lap. Brooks on the no-leans Yamaha, and it's a big night for that team as they've got the factory team bike behind for the moment. There it is. They left that door open just a little, and Bradshaw squirts through.
And the crowd appreciates it very much. I think Bradshaw was probably being cautious, Dave. Again, he knew where Stanton, or he knows rather where Stanton and BAYLE are, and I think he's saying, hey, you know, I've got to make the pass, but I sure don't want to screw up. I don't want to be back there with them.
Cooper going after Jones now. This is for 4th and 5th. Guy does the double, can't quite get by. Cooper, they call him airtime. You see why. If there is a spectacular way to make the move, Cooper will find it. Cooper will make it. Let's note, too, that Jeff Stanton has picked up a position or two. Oh, and we got a rider in trouble. It's Jeff Glass, who is off the motorcycle. He's out of harm's way, but the bike is left laying in the middle of the racetrack. Bradshaw has taken the lead. Stanton is up to 5th. We'll be back to see if he can catch the action with Larry Brooks versus Guy Cooper for 2nd place. Ronnie Tichenor has crashed, and they move past the crash scene. Tichenor being tended to by the safety personnel as Cooper mounts a major attack here. These whoop-de-doos are a Cooper specialty. He likes to find the fast way through. Changes the line, comes to the inside, and he makes the pass. Yeah, he does. He gets a wheel out front, and Guy Cooper be gone as he takes over the 2nd spot.
As the season is drawing to a close, just like in 1991, Cooper is look at that. How did he save that? That was amazing. Cooper, wow, here, we're going to look at it again. Watch what Cooper does. He comes through this whoop-de-doo section. Oh, off the motorcycle. Are you putting me on? You learn that stuff if you're from Oklahoma, you know. I think he rode bareback Broncos in the rodeo.
I told you it's quite a spectacular way to do things.
I just wanted to quickly point out that last year, about the same time of the year, season drawing to a close is when Cooper got red hot. He's doing it again. And here's someone else that's red hot. Jeff Stanton from way off the pace, now challenging Larry Brooks for the number 3 position.
Stanton has come through a lot of traffic after that first turn episode that tangled both he and his teammate Jean-Michel BAYLE. Stanton is determined that this race will not be his downfall as it was a year ago. He's going to get all the points out of here he can. He's riding right up there on the edge. He's got to be careful.
Yeah, he definitely is. We need to quickly point out Stanton was not on the ground like BAYLE. He was able to escape that part of the altercation, but he was just held up for a long, long time. Look at Brooks holding him off. Brooks doing a great job.
Yeah, he raced hard with Bradshaw in the early laps, and now he has the 2-time champion on his rear wheel, but Larry Brooks is not surrendering anything here, or at least not surrendering it willingly. Nice move by Stanton as he comes down. That'll give him the inside line going to the right-hander, and a great move to set up the pass and take over 3rd spot. It's not always the point where you make the pass that's critical. It's the point where you set up the pass.
Well, indeed it is, and Stanton set that one up beautifully. I think Brooks maybe was expecting him to take a different line, and he kind of left the door open. Damon Bradshaw's had an open door since the drop of the gate.
Boy, is he capitalizing here tonight on the Honda misfortune. The win moves him right back into contention for the series championship. Bradshaw riding conservatively now with a healthy lead, and he's just protecting him. Look there, nobody in sight. He's got him by a straightaway, and that's very much reminiscent of the first half of this season. Bradshaw killed him 5 races in a row. Looked like he was going to waltz away with the championship. Then Stanton turned the series around, and now Jean-Michel BAYLE, number 1, has emerged as the point leader, but he was involved in that first turn crash, and he's back here trying to catch up.
Jean Jean-Michel Bayle sees the points lead diminish in front of his eyes. Boy, what must be running through his mind? I suspect nothing other than picking off as many riders as he possibly can. But he was looking, Dave, I think more and more like a repeat champion. I think in many circles they were ready to give the title to him. Jean-Michel Bayle was back on track. Jean-Michel Bayle, Mr. Smoothness, Mr. Consistency. He's going to win the series for the second year in a row. But now it's a whole new ball game.
Well, a year ago in this same ballpark, number 2, Jeff Stanton, not only lost the game but lost the series in a crash in a whoop-de-doo section not unlike this one. He is racing Guy Cooper for the runner-up spot. Quite an improvement from where he was early in the race. I think the thing that strikes me most about Stanton is his youth. We think of him as one of the gnarly veterans. He's in fact 23 years old. Success came early to Stanton. He's already won 2 championships in this series. Contrast that with Guy Cooper, who is 30. Jeff Ward is hanging it up at the age of 30. He says, I've been doing this too long. Cooper looks to me like he's going to stick around until he finally wins one of these things.
You know, I wonder if he were to win a main event, if he won here tonight, I wonder if he would then hang it up. Because he says that's really the last thing he wants to do in his career, the last career ambition. Of course, if he won that, then he'd probably say, well, I'd like to win the Supercross title.
He's still got that competitive blood boiling as he holds the 2-time champion behind him here. Cooper's been close on a couple of occasions. Never climbed that last step of the ladder, and tonight he won't do it unless David Bradshaw falls off. Here's Stanton trying to make the move. He's got him set up. Cooper takes the rail and holds on to the spot for the moment. Good side-by-side action. Stanton comes out with the lead.
It's amazing how they look over at each other trying to anticipate what the other guy is going to do. I mean, they're up in midair, what, 30, 40 feet off the ground, and he looks over to say to Cooper, well, what are you going to do when you land? I know where I'm going.
I don't think Cooper was any match for him there. Stanton had upped the tempo, and Cooper just could not maintain the pace. So even though it looked like a pretty serious slugfest for the position, I think Cooper was destined to lose it. Stanton's just going a good bit faster than he is right now.
Yeah, Stanton coming from off the pace had the momentum. He had been passing riders. He's looked at a lot of different lines on the racetrack. But the most important, I think, is the word momentum. Out front, the momentum belongs to this guy. No one's going to catch Damon Bradshaw unless he makes some kind of a mistake. Stanton is way back off the pace.
Tremendous speed being displayed by Bradshaw, but controlled speed. Early in the season, on occasion, he would tend to get a little wild, get a little radical, get a little out of control. Looked like the Damon Bradshaw of old. Even though he was able to consistently win races 5 in a row, Jean-Michel Bayle, in fact, predicted that he would crash and possibly hurt himself, and that would turn the championship around. It's exactly what happened. But for Bayle, a first-turn crash tonight may very well cost him the point lead. He is climbing back up into contention, and Bradshaw is your runaway leader. Overdome headed for the finish with Damon Bradshaw looking for win number 6 on the season. He cannot get the championship point lead here tonight as he overlaps Todd DeHoop. It looks like Jeff Stanton is going to succeed in leading this series. It'll be the first time this year Stanton's held the undisputed lead, but the critical thing for Bradshaw is getting himself back into contention. Guy Cooper is the 3rd place man on the racetrack. Stanton is in between them, and whoa, Cooper's on the ground.
Guy Cooper coming through that sand. He was still holding on to the number 3 spot. He's still in 3rd place. Amazing. The motorcycle. First we'll take a look at the crash. Cooper just pushed the front end a little bit. That soft sand section that they trucked in to help construct this Pontiac track. He just hit it wrong, and he went down. He was quickly up, and he was still holding on to the number 3 position. We're back looking at Bradshaw, but Cooper is still 3rd. That shows you how fast these guys were going out front.
Kept that motorcycle running, and that enabled him to hang on to the spot. Bradshaw with the lead, and let's see just how impressive it is. Here comes Jeff Matasevich. Nah, he's a lap down. How about number 12, Doug Dubach? He's a lap down. We're waiting for the 2nd place man, and we still don't see him yet. The man we're waiting for is Jeff Stanton. But the critical thing is that Stanton right here will get the point lead tonight. He was tied with his teammate Bayle after Indianapolis. This will be the first time that he has led the championship uncontested all year long. And while we've got the clock running, we'll catch Cooper right here, 26.5 seconds behind the leader. Not bad considering that he spent some portion of that time on the ground.
Yeah, now here's here's what has happened, though. Mike LaRocco, rider number 17, Kawasaki, from fairly close by, South Bend, Indiana. Now the crowd behind him as he moves into position to challenge Cooper for the number 3 position.
LaRocco, the winner of the season opener, has not been able to do that since. We're on the white flag lap, the last lap of the race, and LaRocco has the opportunity here to capture a podium finish. The top 3 is within reach if he can charge up there and do something with Cooper. But Cooper has definitely regrouped and appears for the moment to be keeping LaRocco at bay.
He is phenomenal. David Bradshaw all alone out front. He's missing a good race behind him.
Bradshaw knows he's got this one won. He's signaling everybody, hey, look at me. Checkered flag for Bradshaw, 6th of the season. But we've got a race back here that's going to go right to the wire for 6th and 7th spots. Jean-Michel BAYLE was almost last out of the first turn. He has come back to 7th, and this could impact the final standings after tonight's race. There's a point there to be gained if he can get around number 10, Larry Ward. A collision behind him. Looks like Mike Kudrowski is off the racetrack, but Ward versus BAYLE is the story as they turn for home, and JMB tries to mount one final charge, get one more position. He's passed about 12 guys here this evening. One more would get him another point. I don't think he's going to make it. Indeed, there is Brooks styling across the flag, and BAYLE is on cruise control as he settles for 7th spot. Bradshaw has won it. It is a championship dogfight once again as Damon takes the victory. We'll take a look at the point standings in a moment. First, let's check the results. Bradshaw, Stanton, Cooper, LaRocco, Brooks with his best Supercross finish ever. Larry Ward is 6th over Jean-Michel BAYLE. McGrath, Kudrowski, and Metasimit round out the top 10. Let's meet the winner.
Damon, it's been 4 weeks since you've been in the winner's circle. We said you had them covered earlier tonight, and it looks like you did in the main. How was it?
Well, I felt real good. I got off to a decent start, and I think some of the other guys got a bad start, but I think they may have had some of the bad luck I've had the last couple weeks, but you know, I was able to win tonight, and tomorrow's a different night.
Well, good luck on the next race tomorrow night in Silverdome.
Thanks a lot.
Bradshaw ends up tied with BAYLE for 2nd behind Jeff Stanton, the leader, who's now with Bob Hanna.
Jeff, you weren't where you wanted to be in the winner's circle, but 2nd place is not all bad, and you're back in the points lead. Is that what you really wanted?
Well, at this point, the points lead doesn't really mean much. I just want to be up there on the podium and be up in 1-2. That's where you get the most points, so I just need to consistently be winning.
2nd place, not all bad, Jeff.
Not all bad. I'll take it.
Look happy.
Thanks.
Good luck tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Sunday's second half of the Silverdome doubleheader will be our feature next week on continuing ESPN coverage of the Supercross Series. Damon Bradshaw, Larry, back from the wrist injury, certainly in top form.
He is indeed in top form, but I want to tell you, Dave, that someone else that's back, he's back on top of the series, Jeff Stanton, and I have to like his chances at this point in the ballgame.
It's going to be a tremendous 5-race duel for the title. Here are your top 3 from the Pontiac Silverdome. For Bob Hanna and Larry Myers, I'm Dave DeSpain. We'll see you next week.